That day, the building was already on the verge of collapse. And there were people who already knew it. Cracks spreading along the walls, cracks clearly visible to the naked eye. And yet, that morning, people walked back inside. And that day, the building did not collapse naturally. It had already begun. The outcome was already set. And finally, there was something that pushed it over the edge. Morning, April 24th, 2013. Savar, Bangladesh. Not far from the capital, Dhaka. There stood an 8-story building, Rana Plaza. From the outside, nothing seemed unusual. An ordinary structure, an ordinary appearance. But inside, it was anything but ordinary. Thousands of people were already inside. And that morning, just like any other day, began. Rana Plaza was never meant to be a factory. On the lower floors, banks and shops, and above, garment factories. What was made there, shirts, pants, and clothes we wear without a second thought. Those clothes were made inside that building. Low wages, long hours, endless repetition. It wasn't just a workplace. For some, it was survival. For others, it was the only way to feed their families. And that day, that routine was supposed to continue. The day before the incident, something strange began to appear throughout the building. Cracks, not small ones. Cracks, clearly visible to the eye. Walls, columns, floors. The entire structure was sending a warning. This was not a minor issue. This building is dangerous. That conclusion had already been made. In fact, the bank closed immediately. Shops shut down operations. People walked out of the building. But not everything stopped. Inside the same building, 2 completely different decisions were made. Some left knowing the danger, and others had to go back in. The garment factories on the upper floors did not stop. Production had to continue. Deadlines had to be met. Orders could not be canceled. And the next day, the workers had to return. According to testimonies, some factories said this: if you don't show up, you don't get paid. If you stop coming, you're fired. It wasn't just a threat. For them, it was survival. A month's wage meant a family's survival. So, they knew the building was dangerous. And still, they had no choice but to go back in. Morning, April 24th, 2013. People gathered again in front of the building. They were the ones who had seen the cracks the day before. Isn't this dangerous? They had said that. They knew it could collapse. And yet, they went back in. This wasn't courage. It wasn't a choice. It was reality. For people who couldn't afford to lose a single day, danger was not something they could avoid. Rana Plaza was not originally built like this. It was designed as a 5-story building, but it was illegally expanded to 8 floors. And then, everything that was added inside: heavy sewing machines, industrial equipment, stacks of fabric, and thousands of workers. All that weight kept piling up. The problem was, the building was never designed to hold it. From the beginning, it was meant for shops and offices, light use. But instead, it became a factory. Constant vibration, excessive weight, misuse of the structure. It was a collapse waiting to happen. And the worst part, that time had already come. That morning, inside the building, everything seemed normal. Machines were running, people were working, clothes being made for global brands. And then, suddenly, the power went out. a blackout. Everything stopped. For a moment, silence. But not for long. Soon, the backup generators turned on. Large generators installed inside the building. They roared to life, bringing with them intense vibration. A building already filled with cracks, already near its limit. And on top of that, constant vibration. At that moment, the building was no longer standing. It was preparing to collapse. It just hadn't happened yet. That morning, work resumed. The generators kept running, and the vibration spread throughout the building. Then, something started to sound wrong. Crack! The sound of something breaking somewhere inside. Bang! A column failing. People began to feel it. Something wasn't right. And then, the building started to shake. Slowly, but clearly. A structure already full of cracks, already at its limit. And on top of that, continuous vibration. This was not just shaking. It was the beginning of collapse. And then, it could no longer hold. The building gave way. All 8 floors collapsed at once. In just a few seconds, no time to run, no time to escape. In that moment, people were swallowed into the collapse. Right after the building fell, those inside were trapped under concrete and steel. No light, no space to move. Complete darkness, dust, air that was hard to breathe. Some called for help, but their voices were buried beneath the rubble. Some couldn't move at all. Outside, people began to gather. And soon, rescue efforts began. But inside, time moved differently. As the rescue began, many things were discovered in the debris. Unfinished clothes, machines, frozen in place, piles of fabric, crushed and scattered, and on those clothes, labels, names of global brands, order sheets, production records, clothes ready for shipment. That building was connected to the world. The clothes we wear without thinking. That was where they were made. And that day, that place collapsed. And then some companies said, "We are not involved. We didn't know because of subcontracting." But what remained in the rubble told a different story. Labels, records, orders, everything was connected. That day, it wasn't just a building that collapsed. Immediately after the collapse, people at the scene began to move. With no equipment, they used their bare hands to clear the rubble. Someone heard a voice. "Here, please." And following that sound, they began to dig. Concrete moved piece by piece. As time passed, rescue teams and military forces arrived. Heavy machinery was brought in. But the debris was tangled, complex, and rescue was not easy. The rescue did not end in a day. 2 days, 3 days, and still it continued. As time passed, hope seemed to fade. But beneath the rubble, people were still holding on. In the darkness, in tight spaces, fighting to survive. 17 days after the collapse, a voice was heard. "Please help me." Following that voice, rescuers moved. And then they found her. Her name, Reshma. For 17 days, she had been there. No light, barely able to move. She survived by rationing the little water that remained. That rescue was called a miracle. But that one miracle did not make this tragedy any less devastating. Instead, it showed just how many people were still there, beneath the rubble. In this disaster, more than 1,100 people lost their lives. And Over 2,500 were injured. But these are not just numbers. Each number was a life. Inside the rubble, unfinished shirts were found. Clothes someone was making until the very end. Also, letters meant for family. And photos of children. Inside that place, they were not just workers. They were someone's parent, someone's child, someone's family. And the clothes they were making became just cheap products to someone else. This was not an unpredictable accident. It was a disaster everyone saw coming. The cracks were already there. The danger was already known. And yet, production did not stop. People went back inside. So, was this really an accident? Or was it a choice? The clothes made in that building were shipped all over the world, and their traces were found in the rubble. We may have worn them without thinking, without questioning. That day, what was behind a single piece of clothing was revealed. So then, what are we really looking at right now? After the disaster in Bangladesh, discussions began about building safety and labor conditions. Some changes were made, safety inspections were strengthened. But it is hard to say everything has been fixed. This was not just one country's problem. It was something that happened within a system connected to the world. That day, the building collapsed. But the story did not end. This was not just an accident. It was something that could have been prevented, and something that was ignored. We have to remember that day, so that it never happens again. A single piece of clothing, where it came from, and who was behind it. We should think about it at least once. And finally, one last question. That day, what truly collapsed? Was it just a building, or was it the reality we chose to ignore? If this story left you wondering, the next one is waiting for you. Subscribe and stay with us.